Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryashu Sarvada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. A warm welcome on behalf of Param Vedanta to the 79th session of Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation. We continue with the 14th chapter today, Guna Traya Vibhaga Yoga. Maya at all times presents itself in the form of one predominant guna, and the other two gunas play subservient to it. Each guna binds us differently. Understanding the features of each guna will help us in assessment of our instruments, the mind, the body, the sense complex, and the world as port. The study will help us to overcome Maya and claim our true nature, which is beyond the gunas. To claim that I am Guna Traya, I'm not the Guna Traya Atma, and to claim I am Gunatita. The chapter should help us to develop Viveka of the three gunas and the Nirguna. So let us listen attentively. Our moderators for the day our moderator for the day is Apeksha, and our respects to her. And the other speakers of the day are Dr. Bhaskar, Dr. Deeksha, Dr. Manjula, and Srimati Purnima. Over to you, Apeksha ji.
Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So we'll start with the introduction of the chapter Guna Traya Vibhaga Yoga. So what is the theme of this chapter? Let's look at quickly at the introduction because of the first 6 verses that has been done so far. This chapter deals with the understanding the three gunas, which are very important, sattva, rajas, and tamas, that govern our human behavior and nature in our day-to-day life. What is the purpose of this chapter? To help once you read this chapter, it is to help one transcend these modes and attain spiritual liberation or moksha. And Krishna's role here is he reveals how these gunas arise from the Prakriti, that is the material nature, and how the soul, our soul, Atman, can rise above them. What is the goal? Key goal? Become ultimately, after reading this chapter, one has to become guna atita, one who is beyond the influence of the guna. Even the sattva, one has to transcend the sattva, remaining steady in joy and sorrow. So the core message here in this chapter is know the forces that bind us in general, rise above them through knowledge and devotion, and reach the eternal Brahman. Next slide, please. So in the first 6 verses in the previous session, we saw supreme knowledge was given by Krishna, where Krishna reveals the highest wisdom that leads to freedom from rebirth and union with the Supreme. How do you have the union with the Supreme, the Brahman? How does the creation of life happen? Prakriti, the nature, is the womb of all beings. Krishna, being the Purusha, is the divine seed giver. And he introduces the three gunas, which is the sattva, which is purity, rajas, desire and action, tamas, ignorance and inertia. And these three gunas are which bind the eternal soul to this material body that we have and our actions. Next slide, please. For example, it's a beautiful example of a movie. You can see the soul is the viewer, body and mind are the screen. And the three gunas are the different film genres that influence the experience. That sometimes while you're watching the movie, the soul is the viewer, but when you watch the movie, you become very joyful. Sometimes it is very dramatic. You are like, full of anticipation, what will happen next. And sometimes very dark or sad you will become. So the core message is understand the forces that govern our life to rise above them and attain true freedom. Next slide. So over to Dr. Bhaskar to explain it further.
Om Gurubhyo Namaha. So, Krishna once again has come in a different angle. Already has dealt with Kshetra and Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, Purusha and Prakruti Vibhaga. So, both this Purusha and Prakruti are there in me. And therefore, this analysis of Prakruti is the subject matter of 14th chapter. So on one side, we have changing saguna, savikalpa, and mithya, which is Prakruti. On the other side, we have changeless nirguna, nirvikalpa, and satyam, that is Purusha. So the analysis starts in the 5th verse. The physical body, which is basically maternal in nature, that is Prakruti, tatvam, made up of matter. Body has attributes and body-mind complex. So Purusha is conscious principle which enlivens body-mind complex. Therefore, it is a mixture of body-mind complex plus Sakshi. Krishna says Ahamkara can be Sattva predominant or Rajo or Tamo, which is basically lower nature, and it is vulnerable to samsara. How? These gunas are like rope which will bind us to samsara and never allow us to be free. Therefore, break the shackles of these 3 gunas means become gunatita and discover the freedom of moksha. One more beautiful example is the pole vault. Use the pole. This pole is like the 3 gunas and the bar is the samsara. So by using the gunas, cross the samsara, cross the bar and leave the pole. Leaving the pole is the most important point here, because if you don't leave the 3 gunas and if you get stuck, get attached to these 3 gunas, you are still in samsara. So use the pole, cross the bar and leave the pole. So Sri Adi Shankara very beautifully says Param Uttamam Jnanam, because he uses greatest twice here, because it is dealing with the greatest reality, Paramarthika Satyam. The first greatest is Vishaya, subject, and the second one is Phala. Therefore, meaning the result derived out of this knowledge is the greatest knowledge. Paramam Siddhim Gatam Hitim, Atmana Eva Atmana Tushta, and Jivan Mukti. The total inner sense of self-sufficiency, not missing anything in life. So the analysis of guna after the introduction of the 5th verse. So this each guna is studied in 5 definitions, 5 divisions. So first one is lakshanam or definition. Second one is bondage, mode or method. The third one is lingam or indication or clue. Fourth one is gati, after death. And fifth one is palam, the domination of each guna in this life itself. So in 14.6, lakshanam and bandhana prakara of sattva guna is explained. In 7 about rajoguna, and in 8 about tamoguna. So basically the lakshanam and bandhana is only explained in the next few verses. So from inert object to the most intelligent human being, every blessed thing in the creation is a product of Prakruti. Therefore, one has got all the 3 gunas, but the proportion is not uniform. As we know, when creation was discussed, the singularity where all the 3 gunas is in equilibrium. Once the creation is started, the proportion is not uniform. So the sattva is predominantly jnana pradhana purushaha. Jnanendriyas are highly active. For a rajo, the karma pradhana. For a tamo, it is inertia. Basically, it's a suppression of both. So coming to the verse, tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakasham anamayam sukha sangena badnati jnana sangena cha anaga. Among them, sattva is bright and harmless due to its purity. It binds by causing attachment to pleasure and by causing attachment to knowledge, O Arjuna. So one important thing what we can understand here is when sattva is dominant, other 2 gunas will not contaminate. So what is the nature of sattva? That is prakashakam. So prakashakam means bright and calm, quietude and tranquility. This seems to be a wonderful personality, capable of learning things, absorbing, contemplating, capable of self-analysis. But still, sattva binds. Because sattva seeks tranquil atmosphere, freedom from noise. So quietude becomes a cause of bondage. Sattva guna leads to noble dependency. Whereas a liberated person does not depend on quietude and seclusion for the fulfillment and happiness. Jnana sangena cha hanaga. Jnanendriya pradhana. Greed for knowledge. Introvert mind which wants to think, know, study, and increase the range of knowledge. Omniscience is impossible. Sattvic is dissatisfied with his internal possession of jnanam, that is material knowledge, not atma, that is aparavidya. So sattva person forms intellectual samsara. So, hey Anaga, Krishna indirectly says, Arjuna, you have a pure mind because you have asked for this knowledge. Sishyate ham sadai mam tvam prapanna. The first line, Prakashakam, explains Tattva Lakshanam, whereas Sukha Sangena explains Tattva of Bandhana, that is bondage. So, most important thing is use the gunas, predominantly Sattva Guna with a pure mind, has to cross the samsara and get liberated, like how the example of pole vault has been given. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Next slide, please. Now we will be looking into verse number 7. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tannibadhnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. Next slide, please. Let us now understand the meaning of each word. Rajaha refers to andhakaraha. Darkness also can be correlated to matsarya in this context. Ragatmakam. Ragaha plus atmakam. Ragaha is that which imparts color. Ranjanat ragaha. Atmakam refers to the swabhava. So, the swabhava is to impart color in this context. Vidhi, to know. Trishna, aprapta abhilashaha. It is nothing but it is the desire to attain that which we do not possess. Aprapta and abhilasha refers to the desire. Asanga, prapte vishaye manasaha priptihi. See, Trishna is the desire, but once we get it, the attachment towards the things that we have achieved is asanga. Samudbhavam, born out of. Tat, that. Nibadhnati, binds. Kaunteya, O Kuntiputra, karma sangena, by binding to the karma. Dehinam, the body. Next slide, please. So the rajas that we talk about here is ragatmaka. They defined ragaha as gairikadivat ragatmakam. That is, gairika is a type of sand that imparts color. Hence, the rajas is of the nature of gairika, where it dyes the mind with the thoughts of objects. Next slide, please. This rajas is the samudbhava, that is, the cause for trishna, desire towards the objects that haven't been possessed yet, and not just possession, it also causes asanga, attachment towards the objects that have been already possessed. Remember, when we use the upasarga asanga, upasarga, it refers to asamantat, from all directions. So Krishna is trying to tell that attachment is not just in one direction, but it happens in all directions. Next slide, please. We can also understand this the other way. By desiring for more and getting attached to things we possess, it increases rajas in us. Therefore, this will become a vicious cycle. So when we see the Vigraha Vakya of this word, it could be taken as Trishna Sangabhyam Samudbhavam, born out of desire and attachment. Trishna Sangayoho Samudbhavam, reason for desire and attachment. Next slide, please. But rajas in moderate amount is required for different karmas. It could be our Panchamaha Yajnas, our day-to-day work. No guna is good or bad, but each guna plays its own role. In each level of sadhana, we make use of one guna. So rajas dyes the mind with thoughts of objects, causes desire, and causes excessive amount of attachment towards the object. Next slide, please. Therefore, oh dear Kaunteya, having known this, remember that this raga binds you to the action. How does it bind you to the how does it bind you? It binds you through action and to action. A person with a predominant rajasic mind will attach himself to the karma he is doing. The action thus gets transferred to the atma. Next slide, please. The possession, relations, obligations, and the transactions increase in life. It not just binds you to the laukika karma, but also the vaidika karma. Drishta drishtartheshu karmasu sanjanam tatparata karma sangaha. So now when I just said that it not just binds you to the laukika karma, but also the vaidika karma, so don't you think it is good that it binds us to the vaidika karma? Next slide, please. It is definitely good, but always remember that our karma yoga should be followed by jnana yoga. Whereas here, it is always attached to karma and limited to only karma yoga. Rajas only activates the karma indriya more and more. Instead of claiming I am akarta and abhokta, Rajasic mind claims that I am the karta and I am the bhokta. So let us see the anvaya of this sutra, this mantra. Hey Kaunteya, Tvam rajaha ragatmakam Krishna sanga samudbhavam vidhi tat karma sangena dehinam nibadhnati. So what is it telling? It's saying that the rajas, which is ragatmaka in nature, causes trishna and asanga. Having known this, remember that it binds your body through karma. It will only provoke you to do more and more karma, but will not help you in moving towards the jnana yoga. Then, how should one do one's karma? Tyaja dharmadharmam cha ubhe satyanrite tyaja. Ubhe satyanrite tyaktva yena tyajasi tam tyaja. This is told in the 12th chapter. Do your karma with the bhava of renunciation. Renounce everything, and the final form of renunciation is the renunciation of the idea that I have renounced. Even to say that I have renounced is holding on to renunciation. Let us now look into the next verse, coming to tamasic mind. Tamastvajnanajam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya nidrabhis tannibadhnati bharata. Next slide, please. Let us now understand the meaning of each of the word that is given in this verse. Tamaha, andakaraha. Tu, even though. Ajnanajam, born out of ajnana. Mohanam, murchayam ajnane. What does mohana mean? Deluded in moha, in ajnana, in this particular context. Sarvadehinam, of all the beings. Pramadalasya nidrabihi. So we have three different terms in this particular word. What are those? Pramada, alasya, nidra. What is pramada? कर्तव्ये अकर्तव्यत्वाधिया तथा निवृत्तौ अकर्तव्ये कर्तव्यत्वाधिया तत्र प्रवृत्तौ. That means not being able to do pravritti of the given kartavya and indulging in things that are supposed to be put under the category of akartavya. That is pramada. I think all of us have sense of pramada in our day-to-day life. which we might need to evaluate in a very subtle way, or I mean, it is present in a very subtle way, but which we need to identify and evaluate and correct ourselves from. Alasya is laziness, Nidra is sleep. Tat, that, Nibadhnati binds Bharata, O Arjuna. Next slide, please. So now comes the Tamoguna Lakshanas. Tamoguna is said to arise from Ajnana. Hence, it is said to be Ajnanajam. Whenever the word letter J is used, it means born out of. As this is born out of Prakriti, there is no escape. Hence, here we are talking about the dominance of Tamoguna. This Ajnana is said to be Avarana Shakti Pradhana Maya. And the tamas born out of it has the Shakti to do avana to our buddhi. What is buddhi? Nishchayatmakam buddhi. That which decides is buddhi. But here there is avarana of the buddhi itself. Next slide. Mohanam. This tamas causes mohakarana or is mohakarana in nature. What is moha? It is nothing but aviveka, lack of discrimination. Mohakarana of sarvadehinam. Next slide, please. If we say sarvadehinam, then it will include all human beings. If all human beings were deluded, then there would be no scope for moksha, isn't it? Therefore, dehavatam refers to dehabhimanavatam is mohakarana. It deludes only the ajnanis who are very attached to their deha, have a lot of dehabhimana, who have not done the Shastra Vichara. Only those will be the ones that will be deluded. Next slide, please. How does it bind them? Tat nibadhnati. But how? By pramada, doing pravritti of akartavya deeds and causing nivritti of the deeds that were meant to be carried out. By alasya, through laziness. By nidra. So sleeping, is it a problem? No, it is not. Sleeping is not a problem, but continuing to sleep is the problem. Hence, we do not condemn tamoguna here. Next slide, please. So what does it cause when there is predominance of tamoguna? What happens? It suppresses sattva and the rajoguna. Since sattva guna is suppressed, no clarity. Next slide, please. Since sattva guna is suppressed, there is no clarity of thoughts. There is no clarity of the purpose of life. Human life will also be not taken seriously. Time, age, nothing is taken seriously. This is due to the lack of clarity. Next slide. So how does the Anvaya, let's look at the Anvaya of this sutra. It says, Hey Bharata, tamah tu ajnanajam, sarvadehinam mohanam vidhi, tad pramadalasya nidrabhihi nibadhnati. O Bharata, tama is born out of ajnana. It binds all the deluded human beings. How does it bind them? By pramada, alasya and nidra. So to conclude, I would like to quote Swami Vivekananda here. Next slide, please. Awake and arise, O mighty one. This sleep does not become you. Awake and arise, it does not befit you. Think not that you are weak and miserable. Almighty, arise and awake and manifest your own nature. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Verse number 14.9. Let's chant the verse. Sattvam sukhe sanchayati rajaha karmani bharata gnana mahrutyatu tamaha pramade sanchayatyuta. The word meaning of the verse goes like this. Sattva binds one to pleasure, rajas binds to action, whereas tamas binds to negligence by wielding the discriminating power, O Arjuna. Next slide. In this verse, Krishna repeats the topic of bandhana prakaraha as a nutshell. Each guna binds a person by creating a particular form of addiction, which is called as sangaha. There are three types of addictions. Sattvam sukhe sanchayati. Sukham means tranquility, quietitudeness. Sattva guna causes addiction to quietude, nivrutti, withdrawal, or silence. So, Sukha Sangaha is a mode of bondage here. Whereas Rajoguna causes addiction to karma. It's called karma sangena. Doing karma is harmless. However, addiction to karma leads to bondage. Similarly, tamoguna binds pramade, carelessness, inattention. The no job is done with responsibility or with wholeheartedness, with lot of mistakes, which requires lot of corrections. So it leads to pramada sangaha. It can be called as nidra sangaha also. It is because of gnana mavrutya. It's a way of covering the clarity of thinking and lack of discriminative power. Tamoguna makes a person addicted to lose jobs all the time. It's difficult to make that person responsible. So our higher nature, known as the Sakshi Swarupam, is ever nirgunam and therefore free from the influence of three gunas. But our Vyavaharika nature, our lower nature, which is called as Ahankara, which is a mixture of body-mind complex as well as a reflected consciousness, can never escape from the three gunas. We have to live with these Saguna Ahankara. Once we are forced to live with this Ahankara, it's important to understand the Ahankara well so that we know how to handle it properly. Self and social awareness, it helps in handling oneself and also people around us, because there is no escape from people with whom we live or we work at our workplace with our colleagues. Better the awareness, better the coping, and we can manage the issues well. So it's a process of doing trial and error. Efforts are important, not the outcome. Knowledge gives the capacity for better handling. Hence, Krishna emphasizes on the understanding of our own ahankara. Which guna is dominant in us, whether it is primary, secondary, which is highest and which is lowest. One need to have better understanding of these gunas and their influence on our vyavaharika life, both material life as well as the spiritual life. Therefore, Krishna stated into the inquiry into these three gunas and provided definition of these three gunas. Sattva guna is prakashatmakam and rajoguna is ragatmakam and tamoguna is mohanatmakam. Prakashatmakam means a mind which would be inclined to gain more and more knowledge, a mind which is predisposed to the pursuit of knowledge. It has knowing tendencies and want to use the gnanendriyas more. That's why it is called satvika mind. Whereas Rajaguna is Ragatmakam, which is a personality which tend to do more doing tendency rather than knowing tendency. This personality is a person with a dynamic mind which wants to use the karmendriyas rather than the gnanendriyas. Hence, it has karma predisposition and karma tendency. It is called Rajoguna Lakshana. Tamoguna is defined as mohanatmakam, which means a personality which is always in doubt, indecisiveness, procrastinating, not knowing what to do. A mind which is in eternal conflict and delusion and with procrastination. So the mohaha is so powerful. Even if someone wants to help them, it is difficult to help them to come out of those mohaha. So this constant indecisiveness tendency is the expression of tamoguna, which is tamoguna. Later, Krishna talks about the bandha prakaraha, how these three gunas bind a person, which we can easily infer. A calm mind has always having a knowing tendency, learning tendency, therefore naturally it is addicted to any infrastructure which is conducive for learning. It always love learning infrastructure, which means quietudiness, seclusion, silence, withdrawal, and reduction of relationships, because relationship requires extrovertedness. And therefore, a calm mind is attached to knowledge infrastructure, whereas Rajasic mind hates knowledge infrastructure of quietudiness. A Rajasic mind craves for a karma infrastructure. It wants to do everything. So it's always on the toes, wants to do one or the other thing. So it wants an infrastructure with karmendriyas, which can vary, the person can be more active. And this is called bondage. It is addicted to such a setup, and it is which such setup is not available, that person looks like a fish out of the water. So he is unhappy, whether it is in the noise, whether it is in silence, he is unhappy. However, Vedanta defines moksha as that state of mind where there is no unhappiness, either in silence or in noise. So it is one which is not bound by either noise or the silence. Therefore, Sattvam Sukhe Sanjayati. It is called Sukha Sangaha or Gnana Sangaha, the bondage. The Rajo Guna binds through karma, so karma Sangaha, which is attached to karma, and Tamo Guna binds to Nidra and Alasya. Tamo Guna mind is not bothered about what infrastructure it wants, does not even know what it wants. The still going in darkness, and it also does not want to decide. It is attached to vagueness, negligence, and carelessness. This is Pramada Sangha. Hari Om, Dhanyavadaha.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Verse 14.10. Rajas tamascha vibhuya sattvam bhavati bharata. Rajas sattvam tamaschaiva tamas sattvam rajas tatha. By rearranging the words, the Anvaya of the shloka is as follows. Bharata Rajaha Tamaha cha Abhibhuya Sattvam Bhavati. Rajaha Sattvam cha Abhibhuya Tamaha Bhavati. Tatha Tamaha Sattvam Abhibhuya Rajaha Bhavati. Next slide. In the last few verses, we saw that our higher nature, known as the Sakshi Swarupam, is ever Nirgunam and therefore free from the influence of the three gunas. Our body-mind complex is made up of three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Therefore, the Ahamkara, our lower nature, which consists of body-mind complex and the reflected consciousness, is necessarily made up of these three gunas, and therefore we can never escape from them. Next slide. Since we cannot escape from these gunas, it is better we understand Ahamkara well so that we know how to handle it properly. Krishna started an inquiry into the three gunas. First, he gave the definition, Lakshanam of each guna. Thereafter, he pointed out how each guna binds a person by creating attachment to a relevant field, Sukha Sangaha, Karma Sangaha, and Pramada Sangaha. In all these verses, we were discussing these gunas more as constituents of nature. In this verse, we are back to discussing Sattva, Rajas and Tamas more as qualities. Before entering the third topic of Lingam, indicatory mark to know whether one is Sattvic, Rajasic or Tamasic, Krishna is taking a small diversion in this verse. We are shifting to a more psychological level, and this is very important not just in spiritual life but life in general. Next slide, sir. At the end of the first line in the shloka, Krishna says, Bharata Sattvam Bhavati. He is talking about the Sattva quality in a Sattvic person. It exists and it expands. How? Rajas Tamascha Abhibhuya. When Sattva overpowers Rajas and Tamas. Abhibhuya means overpowering or overcoming. Next slide, sir. In the second half of the verse, Krishna warns that Rajas becomes dominant when Sattva and Tamas are overpowered, and also Tamas can overpower Sattva and Rajas. Next slide. Krishna only says Sattvam dominates, suppressing the other two. Shankaracharya in his commentary uses the word Labdhatmakam Sattvam. It means having come into existence as it were. Sattva having got sufficient existence, Swakaryam Arabhate. Sattva Guna is able to do its function. Next slide, sir. Krishna's subtle message is dominant Sattvam generates Gnanam. Similarly, dominant Rajas generates karma. Dominant Tamas creates errors or pramada. Next slide, sir. Now comes a very important question. If a person is Sattvic, Rajasic or Tamasic, is it a fixed character or is there a possibility to change the character of a person? Fortunately, scriptures point out that the swabhava of a person can be transformed. Every human being rightly recognizes his own portrait. Sometimes he is good, sometimes he is bad. At certain other times, his state is that of armed neutrality, neither good nor bad. In times of adversities, tamas and rajas grow. So how to reduce rajas and tamas? Suppose one has a bad habit. How to break this bad habit? By replacing it with a good habit. This is the underlying principle of behavioral psychology. We find a brilliant psychology in the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna says you have to overcome rajas and tamas by cultivating sattvam, by changing your behavior. How to change the behavior? We have to analyze ourselves. We need to look within. We need to understand what thoughts, feelings, and emotions should we watch out for so that we can tie them back to a specific guna. The activities that make us happier, healthier, and stronger are sattvic in nature, and the activities that are detrimental in nature should be avoided. So, how to cultivate sattvam? By reducing sources of rajas and tamas. Anything in life that is tamasic, lethargy, laziness, indolence, procrastination should be addressed. As regards to rajas, we have to avoid all such activities that give a kind of unnecessary stimulation. For example, media. Just as we are careful of what we eat, we have to be equally careful about the media we consume through eyes and ears. The media that we consume affects us emotionally. Next slide, sir. Cultivating Sattva Guna is actually easy. Friends, what we are doing now is one of the most powerful ways of cultivating Sattva Guna. Study of Bhagavad Gita. This is number 1. Number 2 is daily meditation. This will have a twofold benefit. It will make you happier, healthier, and stronger in your day-to-day life. And secondly, it prepares your mind to be a better instrument for receiving these teachings and gaining enlightenment. Next slide. So Sri Krishna tells Arjuna and in turn to all of us that we should understand which guna is prominent in us. We have to adopt the appropriate sadhana and finally come to self-knowledge. To find out which guna is dominant in us, Krishna talks about the guna lingani, the indicators to find out where we stand in the coming verses. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful explanation today by Dr. Bhaskar, Dr. Deeksha, Dr. Manjula, and Srimati Purnima ji. So just to summarize the verses, here are the small slides that I have made. So we talked about 3 gunas today in detail. Sattva being the mode of goodness. What are the qualities of sattva? The qualities of sattva is you're pure, you have a lot of wisdom, you have done a lot of self-knowledge, and you are in harmony with everything around you. What binds it through is attachment to happiness and knowledge. Once you start developing the sattva guna in you, you get attached to the happiness and knowledge. And what are the effects that you get out of sattva guna is you get clarity of mind, you get peace, self-control, and like Purnima ji just in the last slide had mentioned, meditation, daily meditation is a sadhana to be done, and these are the direct effects of doing daily meditation. So example, also one example is a teacher dedicated to uplifting students with calm and compassion. One who is very calm and compassionately explains to the students how the teachings in the school is considered to be in sattva, or a person who is meditating daily, who is seeking the truth and balance. And I'm sure most of you would be doing that. So essence is sattva is stainless, illuminating, and free from sorrow. Yet, one who experiences the sattva guna, it is normally seen that some people get attached to joy and knowledge. And remember, the aim of this chapter is to be guna atita. You have to go beyond the gunas and achieve spiritual liberation, even drop the sattva that is inside you. Next slide, please. The second that we saw was rajas, mode of passion. right? Rajas, where you want to achieve a lot of goals. You're very ambitious, you're very competitive, and your mind is always working towards the idea on how to make that $1 billion startup that you're seeing nowadays. How can I get VC funding? How can I make, become rich? All those things, these are the qualities of Rajas. What are the qualities? You have a desire, you are very active, you're very restless within your mind to achieve the next goal, the next goal, the next goal that keeps coming in your mind. What binds you through? The attachment to the action of achieving that adrenaline of $1 billion, or maybe achieving that adrenaline of winning so many grand slams and the fruits that it comes from it, or making your film a big success, whatever, or your business a huge success. What are the effects of Rajas? Ambition, competition, mental agitation. For example, an entrepreneur which is driven by success, which is working like we have heard, like in, it is generally normally very common, like in companies like Ola and all, the meeting starts at 3 a.m. in the morning. So working long hours for profit, for, making it the biggest company ever. So that is Rajas. Someone which is constantly chasing goals without the inner peace. They're always after number, next goal, next goal, next goal. And you can see so many examples around you in the television, in the media industry. You can see a lot of people are like that, it's driven by Rajas. So essence is Rajas is born of craving and attachment. It binds you by clinging to the action and the desire of achieving your goal. Next slide, please. Then tamas. Tamas is mode of ignorance and interplay. What is tamas? People who like to just sleep, who are very lazy, who don't want to do anything in their life. And in that, Krishna has also said, right? Still, you will have to blink your eyes. But still, there are people who say, I love to sleep and I can sleep throughout the day. So for like 15 hours, they will sleep. And they'll be only awake for 5-6 hours. So what are the qualities? Darkness, inertia, a lot of laziness, delusion of wanting to do nothing in their life. What binds you through in tamas? That is your laziness, the confusion, the negligence. Some people also say, right? Some people also say कि कर्म क्यों करना है? Why do we have to do any कर्म? No, as it is, कर्म का कोई फायदा नहीं होता. But that is not the point. The कर्म has to be done so that you can become guna atita. So that is very important to remember. What are the effects of it? People are in depression. People are very lazy, sleeping almost 16 hours a day. They're not able to decide what they want to do in their life. They're ignorant about themselves as well as people around them. So, what is the example? A person who avoids responsibilities, who doesn't want to take up any responsibility in life, who is like, no, I don't want to do anything for others, who is lost in addiction. There's so many addictions around drug, alcohol, so many, or sleeping like 16 hours a day. There are people that I know that sleep for 16 hours a day. So that tamas guna is very, very much prominent in them. One who is ignoring the truth due to fear of attachment to false comfort. So that is also a tamas. So, these interplay, what we have to also remember, the interplay of gunas is very essential in your daily life. We need a balance of all the three. Sattva is also required, Rajas is also required, and Tamas is also required. And we will see that in detail in the subsequent verses. Sattva rises in clarity. When you have clear mind, Sattva will rise. Rajas, craving to, achieve. That is also required. Otherwise, how will you be able to, do your service, do your job, or run your business? That is also a part of your responsibility that you have to do. But always remember, whatever karma you are doing in Rajas, just leave the results to God. Just you karm kiye ja, phal ki ichha mat kar. Do the karm thinking whatever you will receive is the prasadam from the God, and you just have to do your karma with 100% purity in mind. Tamas is in ignorance. Tamas is also required because if you are not slept well properly during the night in 6 hours, you will not be able to, work towards, do daily meditation to be in sattva, to do your to fulfill your daily responsibilities of being a homemaker or a service person or an entrepreneur. One mode will always dominate the others in a cycle. So you now have to sit with yourself and see which mode is dominant in you, because very beautifully in the previous verses it was explained about these three verses. The essence is each guna competes for control. The dominant one shapes your behavior and experience. And there's a beautiful example that I read was like, for example, it's me. I will say I am sitting doing my meditation, there's no disturbance in early morning when you have woken up, and there's no disturbance, and a lot of sattva is there. I'm feeling very peaceful from inside, and life is all beautiful. Then I walk out, and it's breakfast time, and then I'm watching TV, and news is going on. So slowly and slowly, Rajas starts to come in my mind, and then somebody comes and says, "No, no, I'm going to watch my channel," and takes away the remote from your hand, and suddenly you become angry, and you're like, how can you change my channel? This is the channel I want. So tamas has become prominent. So you always have to be aware, these are the interplay of gunas that are going on in your daily life, day-to-day life. Which one you want to make prominent, and ultimately remember, we all have to transcend these three gunas in order to achieve the final, the liberation, the moksha that we say in our life. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you, Apeksha ji, and all the speakers. Thank you for giving us Krishna's divine words in a language we understand. Now an appeal. As you all are aware, Param Vedanta has been offering Guru Dakshina to all our gurus twice a year, once during Guru Purnima and again during Gita Jayanti. You have been part of these offerings all through, and we are truly grateful to you. This year, Guru Purnima falls on 10th of July, and the window is open to us to offer our gratitude and reverence to the lotus feet of the Guru. The decision is to donate is purely voluntary. Please note the entire amount of your offering collected will reach our gurus. The mode of payment and the account details are displayed on the screen, and it will also be sent on all the groups, including Telegram. Overseas listeners, please note that the Guru Dakshina can be offered only from an Indian account. You will also, all of you will receive a receipt of your offerings through Gmail, through your email, sorry. Therefore, it's important you fill the Google form. Param Vedanta thanks all its listeners. We will meet again on the 4th of July with the next session on Drigdrishya Viveka, session 8. We conclude now with our prayers. Please chant along. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.